Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Dual Screens podcast. I am one of your hosts, Stephen Fontana, and with me, as always, he's in that other box. He's Andy S. Mechs. How are you, Andy?
It's been 0 days since I thought of Fern Gully.
Okay.
After seeing this game.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I guess. Yeah.
That's gonna be lost to a lot of people listening to this show. That's like a '90s reference.
You got a supercomputer in your pocket. You can figure it out.
Just Google it.
Gully.
92.
Yeah,
92.
just Google it.
Stay away from the what's the deviant art, please, for the love of God. Stay away from the
filters
Fern Gully.
Please.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Dual Screens podcast, and with us we have Bohdon, Sayre, and Mel Ramsden of Flight School Studio. Now, the only reason why I stumbled on that is because my mouse cursor was over the text, and I lost my place. So I swear to Bob, I had that. I didn't even. Whatever. Flight School Studio, developer of Stonefly, a chill and tranquil action-adventure game about the journey of self-discovery, all while piloting a bug-sized mech. Folks, welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
This is going to be a lot of fun. For full disclosure, this is the best conditions for me to do the show under is when I forget we're doing the show. And then I don't like psych myself up. I don't give myself all this thing. I just kind of roll with the punches. So
you're just like, I gotta go.
Yeah, exactly. Let's just do the thing. So Bohdon, you are the game director.
Yep.
And
correct.
Mel, you are the technical game designer, level designer, and artist. So
yeah, environment hats. So that qualifies. You did it.
Hats.
That's
hats.
Because I didn't consider myself a proper artist until I realized I did do some.
Yeah,
you did it. It's
true.
a small team, so we all did a bunch of stuff.
That's true.
So I mean, game director, and then there's somebody with 3 jobs.
What is that?
I'm wondering who's the real director in this situation. No. So before we get into it, let's just tell everybody what we're listening to, folks. This is the Dual Screens podcast. This is the internet's #1 indie developer interview podcast, probably. It posts each and every Friday for your listening pleasure on your podcast service of choice, including our home Podbean. We're on Stitcher. We're on Spotify. And of course, you can get the video version on youtube.com/dualscreens.tv. And you can get the show early as Mondays instead of Fridays if you're a Patreon supporter, patreon.com/NDS podcast, just like our Patreon producers, Colton the Apprentice Nestler, FNH Paul, and Vegas Girl on Fire. We can't continue to grow without your support, and we cannot continue to amplify the indie developers of the world that we love so much without all of your support. So please tell your friends about the show and rate us on iTunes. Okay, now people know what the hell they're listening to. Now tell them what game they're going to be hearing all about tonight.
What the hell is this game?
Yeah, what give us the elevator pitch. Tell me what Stonefly is.
Okay, I'll go first.
Yeah.
Like you kind of already said, Stonefly is a game that is a lot about mood. It's about hanging out in this forest as a miniature bug-shaped mech, piloted by a young woman named Annika, as she kind of searches for something that was very important to the family that she has lost. And you encounter a lot of creatures. It's like passive and active at the same time. You know, like there's a lot of combat, but it's never like aggressive or violent. You don't cause damage to these buggos. It's very friendly. There's a lot of different places you go to. It's explorative. It's just kind of like a place you'll hang out in.
It's a place you'll hang out in.
I have so many
questions. It's a place you'll hang out in.
Yeah.
Sounds like
Clubhouse.
Stoned fly is what I want to say. It's the sense I'm getting.
So
I want to hear Mel's interpretation of what this game is.
I mean, everything Bo said is correct and true. It's a non-violent, very action game. Like there's a lot of abilities and combat and a lot of like different kinds of bugs that require different kind of strategies to engage with and kind of play against. But you don't actually murderize them or anything like that. You just no murderizing. No murderizing. Use your abilities to kind of move them out of the way, because all of the combat is kind of objective based, where as throughout the game, like one of the key elements of the gameplay is you're collecting minerals, and the bugs they eat them. It's their food. So each time you go out into the world to collect minerals to use them for lots of different things, the bugs are going to try and stop you. So you can use your abilities to try and crowd control them a little bit. It's a little bit strategic in that sense. But then ultimately, like once you shoo them out of the way and collect your minerals, then you can go back to your base and start using them and use some elements to progress the story and stuff like that. It's all kind of tied together. So it's kind of story-driven, action, non-violent, tiny game.
We liken the core gameplay to like King of the Hill, or in like some ways it's kind of Smash. You just got to knock the other characters off the platform so you can get all the goodies that are at the center of the hill, basically.
You're kind of like a Pied Piper in a way of just like guiding them or figuring out a way to get them away from wherever they are. Now you say
you're shooing bugs.
You say non-violent, yet you're taking their food supply. So what kind of sadists are you over there?
I mean, sometimes you don't need it and you could leave some food, and there's probably so much around that like we're not starving anybody.
You're just taking those specific minerals because you don't want to do the work of looking for the hidden stuff. You want to make the bugs find that stuff. So what is the reason why are you looking for these minerals?
They're the currency of the world. Like people use these minerals for a lot of things. Not just for trade, but also for like constructing objects of the world. So this like microscopic technology of this non-human, race of species. There's a variety of species on not Earth. There's nothing related to Earth here. Just kind of use these minerals and these resources to construct little vehicles, to like build their houses, to just like do everything. So they're just kind of like the metals and wood of our world, right?
So go ahead, Andy.
No, I was gonna say, people don't like bugs, right? And I can't.
Not these people. These people are fine with them.
And I can't kill the bugs. Is what you're telling me.
It's ironic because in this world, these people are like maybe half the size of like a little insect. A little insect in our world is probably the size of a bear to us, to a human.
Oh no!
Some of the larger bugs are maybe the size of like an elephant or something like that.
I don't like this at all.
But they're fine with it. They ride them like you could ride on the back of a little cricket in this idea.
So it's kind of like
getting itchy all over.
It's like us burning down a forest for like the oil underneath the ground. Is that like kind of and we're just like getting you're like shoo animals shoo. But like
but no.
So
yes, but no. Not burning down.
Let's talk about scale then, because it seems like scale's pretty important. But in a fantastical world where you're kind of making up the faunage, you're making up the ecosystem and stuff like that, was there less pressure on you to nail scale in that way because you were doing that, as opposed to telling a person, hey, you know what an ant looks like? Now here's you next to an ant.
Right.
There's scale. Like, how did you guys tackle that?
It was super important because, you did want somebody to like you need a reference point to understand scale. You need something that you can identify that's like, oh, I know how big that is, to be able to then compare it to like something else. I do think the bugs offer a lot of that because they've got, legs, and there's spiders that look like spiders, and they're a certain size relative to you and the other characters. So I feel like they're kind of like a grounding point for that. But then, like trees and leaves are similar in size to like, what an earth tree or leaf would be like. Okay. They're just gigantic. So you can like stand on one leaf that is like the size of an entire arena that you're playing on.
Okay, cool.
I've noticed through a lot of the gameplay videos that it seems to focus a lot on staying airborne while you're playing the game. How the mech is actually slower while you're walking around. How did that design element come into play? Focusing on having the character play most of the game while flying around and exploring the world, even through combat as well. Yeah,
that was largely kind of, I feel like we wanted the characters to be like to use wind a lot in general first. We're like, oh, cool. There's slipstreams, you jump into them, you float away. That was like part of like the day one prototype. We just made like a wind volume that you could jump in and get a lift up to like a high branch or something like that. But I think it really like secured itself when we started doing the first couple of rounds of bugs, and Mel and I went back and forth on like, okay, what are the characteristics of the bugs? And we landed on like some are ground attackers, some are air attackers. And it kind of just established this paradigm that like the ground is dangerous. Like if you're on the ground, you'll get bit by something that will crawl up to you and like bite you or like knock you off the platform. So you want to kind of like stay away from them. And so we just started like building all of the mechanics around like getting you airborne. Half of the abilities you use in the game are kind of a form of jump. They'll like get you off of the ground. Like you hit jump, you'll jump. You hit like a push button, which blows some air, you'll also go into the air. So like most of the things you do will just naturally put you back into the air so you can be in your like default state.
Yeah, it was a lot of the combat really informed that decision too. So we realized that like if we wanted to have a crowd control kind of game in a kind of the camera setting that we had, we realized that like staying directly on the ground really like, no pun intended, flattened the combat. It wasn't as interesting. It wasn't as fun. It didn't have the kind of verticality that we were looking for that made it feel dynamic. But then, you know, when you have a camera that's a little bit top down, we were like, how do we create that? And a lot of the like just organically, we ended up wanting to be in the air a lot of the time. And we're like, oh, okay, now we can create an ecosystem for the combat that, you know, informs how much time the player should be up here versus down here versus like way up here using abilities to get extra air. And that created more challenge and layers to the combat that we found fun. So we just kept exploring it.
The other really fun artifact was that it changed our level design completely because we didn't need flat surfaces or roads or anything, which was like very true to like forest floor. If you like zoom in on a forest floor, like there's no flat surfaces. It's all just like bumpy stuff and rocks and like everything's uneven. So having a naturally airborne character meant that we could still go anywhere and just kind of like hop around and you're just kind of bouncing on surfaces instead of having to like move along them.
Yeah, I was going to ask, like, the unique combat scenarios and the unique world you're building obviously is going to inform the level design because now you have to create this box to play in that speaks to those systems. So you touched on it a little bit. So, like, can you go into some specific challenges that you had when you were designing levels of just anything, really? Yeah, just tell us what that situation was like behind the scenes.
Yeah, definitely. I remember like one of the earliest challenges was like when I first started on, we were like, okay, let's try white boxing a level that's like one of the more linear missions as opposed to like a patrol that's a bit bigger in sandbox. But let's just like try it out, see how the pace and scale feels. And initially we started with kind of like catwalks of like just long, thin branches that we thought maybe would be how we could inform the player where to go. And this was before our kind of initial overhaul of the staying airborne kind of mechanics. So when that started to come in, we realized that if we took the catwalk and cut it into a bunch of branches and rotated them 90 degrees, and so now it's like a ladder.
Rungs.
Yeah, like ladder rungs that you're jumping across. You're like, that just makes the space feel better to move around based on our core mechanics. So we just did like a big overhaul across all the maps that all had kind of linear branches. And we were like, detect all of them and rotate them. And then it just kind of like automatically made the space feel more fun to move around in. Because like in my mind, like creating a level, even in the earliest stages, if there's no gameplay in it, it should still feel kind of fun to move through just with your base movement mechanics. So that was like the starting point. And one of the first challenges we were like, oh, we want organic shapes. We want branches. We want it to feel, you know, natural and foresty, but we don't want to have you kind of just walking along a straight branch because that's just not fun.
And it had that added benefit that like, it's really hard to get people, or we've seen, it's hard to get people to immediately switch their mindset because like most video games are walking on the ground. This one, we're trying to like invert that where jump is basically a bounce from airborne and you should be airborne all the time. But everybody wanted to crawl. They're like, we wish that you could crawl faster. And we're like, cool, but we want you to just be airborne because that's when you're faster. So like taking away more of the ground so that you can't crawl anywhere. You just have to constantly jump over gaps because it's like 90% gaps. Like kind of helped encourage that, right?
Do you guys play around with anything underground? Like as far as subterranean bugs and stuff?
One of the first levels Mel mocked up had like kind of this cool hole in it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the hole in the log. I rotated a log and I thought that it might be fun. Yeah, if you floated over it and saw a hole that you could drop down into and then maybe explore that area as like a separate zone in the level.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, we tried to keep a few of those in.
Yeah, it's really tricky. We did this with Creature in the Well too, but like we tried to do no hands on camera, just like try to keep the camera relatively 2D in terms of like it's a top-down game, but we still like get like eager to make cinematic moments where like it feels more like a full 3D game. So there's some tricky boundaries there of like, okay, how much of the like an environment can we continue in before the camera starts running into stuff or you like have issues? But we found a good balance.
Yeah, a lot of tweaking.
Mhm.
The mech is like the superstar of the whole game. This is like the core. It gets you around. It's in there for the combat. What can this thing do? How does it evolve throughout the game? And you can get like parts and upgrades. Can you go into that a little bit for us?
For sure. Yeah, the mech and the person making it, Annika, is so core to the story and the like thesis of the game. Annika's an inventor. So she runs a mechanic shop with her dad where they fix up rigs, which is kind of like, fixing up cars. People use rigs like cars in a lot of the ways. And so she's already got a talent for like building things. And then she kind of goes off on her own and just instinctively uses that talent to take this piece of junk, and you as Annika, as a player, turn it into something that's just really awesome. And all of the things she comes up with are kind of inspired by what she's experiencing. So she fights a bug that's leaving behind a trail of goo. She maybe think like, how can I use that goo to my advantage, and then inventability that's like related to it. Or to counteract something like, man, I keep getting wrecked by these things that are jumping, like maybe I could jump higher to like avoid them or stuff like that. So there's a lot of inspiration that comes from the environment and from her external experience that leads to like the inventions she comes up with.
Mhm.
Is that linear, or is that like purposely designed when you get things, or is it a little open world? Like how do you approach that?
It's a
bit of
little bit
both.
linear. Yeah. Yeah. We kind of had it more open at the start, but we found that it fit better with the story when we started to like introduce key moments and be like, yeah, this is an impactful moment where like this thing happens, and it's probably the best time for her to like come up with this moment. So there's a lot of scripted stuff like that, but there are some things that aren't, and I feel like they kind of meld together.
Yeah, we felt that it was the game really kind of unlocks in layers. So once you get a certain amount of upgrades, or you get some specific upgrades, the combat starts to really like you feel a little bit more capable, and you can start thinking about things and strategizing a little better. So we wanted to make sure that people didn't miss any of those upgrades. So we put a bunch of them in like the crypt path, and we did some pacing passes to like go, okay, like Bo was saying, this feels good at this point. This feels tonally correct at this point. And then we still have like a few extra things that you can suss out in the world and explore in like the more open sandboxy areas to find.
Yeah. And there's two steps to it too. So, there's the invention of an ability in our game where Annika has a thought and says it out loud. She's like, man, I bet I could tweak this thing and make whatever about my mech better. And then you basically have a crafting recipe in your inventory, and it's up to you to choose to actually like gather the resources necessary to fabricate that new upgrade, which you can do in any order. So if you've got like 3 potential new ability recipes, you get to pick like, or I see what this one does. There's like preview videos for them. That looks really cool, and it would help whatever I'm running into. So you can choose to craft that one before the others or things like that.
Yeah.
So there's autonomy over like what order in which you like kind of develop your skills.
Do you can you contextually trigger her ideas without like on your own, almost like, hey, I went down this little path that looks like it's a path an untraveled road or whatever, and then I found this bug, and then she has this thought, but it wasn't necessarily something that everyone might find, like
Sure.
are there moments like that in the game?
A little bit. It's more about like research. So like it's similar idea, but it's like what you run into. So there's one tab in your like inventory that just shows like all of the bugs you've encountered and like how many times you've like shooed them away. Basically, it's kind of like an XP for like everything that you've done in the game.
Okay.
I fought the beetle 12 times, and I fought this slug thing 4 times. I've used my push ability 100 times. As you do those different actions, it leads to different inventions. So if you run into
Oh, cool.
a certain type of bug earlier than later, it will lead to an invention a little bit earlier than later.
Yeah, kind of cumulative.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how you're tackling a skill tree.
Yeah, in a lot of ways. There's like, that's kind of the 3-step stage to it. There's, like the story-based inventions, which are just kind of like, you're playing the game, you're progressing the narrative. She comes up with ideas. There's this research tab in which you're just like gaining XP for like every different type of bug you run into and a lot of the different types of actions. And then once you've invented something, you have to go through, find all the crafting materials you need in a bunch of different regions. There's about 6 like different materials that you have to find in different places, and then use those to like fabricate the actual upgrades that you have.
Andy, I can see your brain breaking right now.
I just love because
You like it?
I keep my mind goes back to Creature Noel. It's such a minimalist game. It's like you have the simple core gameplay. It's a pinball dungeon crawler, and there's like very little story. It's all kind of in the background, and this is just you talk about scale. You shrink down the player, but the scope of the story is like huge.
It's pretty ambitious.
There's like a whole world here of characters. What was that like going from a game where it's like, hey, we got like a 2-page script, and now it's 2,000 pages. What was that like for
well, we added Mel to the team, and then we're like, we can do anything. We've got a third person. Let's go nuts.
All it took was a third person.
No, it was good. And we got like a couple more people on the team longer than we had on Creature as well. Like we had a dedicated animator for a good portion of production this time, which like basically single-handedly handled like all the cutscenes in the game. So like we planned it out a little bit to try to make it a little bit bigger, but it was still, I think, bigger than we intended.
I mean,
it's good. I think it's still a cozy game. Like we didn't make a 20-30 hour game. We made something that's still cozy. Right. We like to make those like, AA weekender type experiences in a lot of ways.
I do want to ask you guys how this game's development differed from Creature, because with Creature, I fell in love with that on the show floor at PAX East 2 years ago. Now we've had no physical PAX in so long. Yeah, how has that been without that kind of player feedback? And the game is launching in 2 weeks, by the way.
Yeah.
It's a real bummer.
So what's the
if Adam was on this podcast right now, he would be crying a single tear.
Yeah. Would.
It's rough. I don't know. A lot of teams are adapting. Like the marketing strategies that like Madison Wallace has helped us with, and that the teams are working with are like totally different. Like nobody's doing the same thing that they were doing pre-COVID.
Right.
So there's a lot of like private press events or like direct to whatever specific outlet type moments. So it's definitely a different approach, and like I honestly don't know how it's going to go because it's all new to me at least. But yeah, I feel like the second that we have like real events again, they're just going to be 100% parties, and like nobody's going to get anything done.
There's a game here.
Oh yeah, by the way, here's a code to the game.
I made a game.
What you think? I guess.
Like here, go to an open bar, and there's a game here if you want to. Maybe play while you're around.
Man, that's been weird. Mel has never worked in the office.
Yeah, because I joined in March. No, in April. We interviewed in March, the day before lockdown in Montreal. So
we interviewed her in the building. Yeah, so she came in for the interview, and we're like, "Check out this sweet office. We got a ping pong table and a coffee machine."
Cool.
And then we're like,
"Go home." Beanbag chair. There's a massage parlor in the back.
I was like, "This lunchroom looks so awesome."
Wow,
I'd
nice
love
spot.
to hang out someday.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I mean,
shut it down.
Are you? There is no office now, or like how?
There's an office. We
still there.
Still have the building because it's kind of complex, but like we're a sister company to this like huge film studio up here and in Dallas, Texas, Real Effects Studios. Yeah. They hired like 300-400 people when they came up here to Montreal, so we have a huge space. In the same building actually is like Unity and Uber up here in Montreal.
Oh wow!
It's a really nice building.
Really cool place.
Yeah,
that sounds like an ideal place.
I would
cool.
love
And
to
we're just like
hang
a couple
out
of people in the corner.
Yeah. No, I was like, it sounds really, really cool. I'd love to go there someday.
Wow, must be nice.
Must be awesome.
I mean, are things starting to look up for that for you guys? Like, are you planning to kind of ride the change that's going to happen, this wave that's going to happen for your next projects, or are you have you learned something by pulling back a little bit? I mean, your scope still was, larger, like we just mentioned, but the way you approach the project changed drastically. Are you going to go back to the old ways? Are you going to do a mix of both? Like how do you go forward from here as such a small developer?
Yeah, it's a tough question. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff there. I do think that there are a lot of permanent changes from this that I personally enjoy. Like I really like a lot of aspects of working from home.
Thanks.
And I know there are also things that just like having people go through the motion, like will change your process and your mindset a little bit, that will allow for things to just develop better in the future. I don't know. It's hard to describe, but I don't think we're just gonna like go back to doing whatever we did. I don't think that's gonna happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we'll probably find a
see...
good balance where we like bring back the things we missed.
Yeah, exactly. Like I could definitely see us striking a balance of like having the awesome office environment where we can, spitball ideas and riff off each other and all that good stuff, and then also being able to have the freedom of like we have all the things set up on our PCs to work from home.
Exactly.
So if it makes sense for us to do that on a day, that we can just do that because it's already all set up. It's not a big castle or anything. So
yeah, you could essentially have your meetings together, have your day together,
right.
and go, okay, now take 3 weeks and do it, and then we'll meet up. Yeah. We'll meet up in 3 weeks and see what we got, kind
right.
of thing. I mean, that do you with this game, like, what was the dev cycle for this? How long have you been working on this?
We started the game at the beginning of last year.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
That's a really quick turnaround.
So like, yeah, Creature came out September 2019. Adam was working on story development before I was done doing all the technical junk on Creature. And then we just kind of hit the ground running with prototyping basically like November, December in 2019, and then brought on Mel early the following year, 2020. So it was like almost entirely just a COVID game.
Wow. did the success of Creature kind of dictate a little bit of the scope that you had for?
Yeah, I mean, what was awesome is we kind of very quickly lined up publishing with Madison Wells after Creature because of how that was doing. They loved Creature and they came on late to basically just like help us push that reach even further. And they're like, we want to find something new. What do you got? And we're like, we're making a game about Fern Gully, and yeah, it's gonna be great.
Fern Buggy.
Oh my God, that's it. That's the name, you guys.
Batty.
So I do have one. I see now. I have a critique now. There's a group in the game called the Acorn Core.
Yeah.
Why is it not called Acore?
Acore.
I mean, it's right there.
Honestly, so Acorn Core was the working title of the game, but like we changed it for a lot of reasons. It's hard to like explain them all, but like I don't know. Stonefly was like a little bit more core to the narratives. So Annika's Stonefly is her name. It's her story.
Way more dope than
Acorn
Core.
Also, it's hard for people to spell core sometimes because they don't know which one you're talking about
or pronounce it. Also,
yeah.
I like double check. Like, is that how I pronounce this word again?
Acorn. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Now okay. I went with. Never mind. I'm not even gonna.
But yeah, the Acorn Core is cool. They're a ragtag group of people of like literally entirely different species. I don't think any of the characters that we modeled that actually appear in 3D in our game are of the same species. It's a wide gamut.
That's pretty cool. It's like a Guardians of the Galaxy, all these different
yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Mishmash.
A lot of different creatures.
So
it's out very soon.
It's
you guys.
out very soon.
So soon.
Exciting.
So
that's what's surreal about it. I feel like without events, you're just sitting in your home and you're like,
I guess
what
it's
is time? what are dates?
Yeah.
Right. You don't have that. You don't have those touchstone moments, those key kind of things to keep you going. And you feel that in everyday life. Like when I go to work, I'm back in the office now full time, and it took a long time for me to realize what day it was of the week.
Exactly.
Like 3 weeks. Now I just call it first Monday, second Monday, third Monday, fourth Monday, and Friday. Like that's what I do, because they all blur together. There's no difference anymore. Where at least when I was home, like the television shows that were on were different. My kids' schedules were different. Like there was some form of difference. But whatever. I don't want to tangents. Be damned.
I get it. We get it.
What is this the kind of game that you are looking to support after release, or is this something that's going to be a one and you drop
that's
it?
That's such a hard question for us. Yes, like I do think on Creature we didn't support it post launch as much as we could. It's been really hard. Like that's one of the things we run into the most is like a small team that's just trying to constantly like get the next thing going and like find funding and like do all these things that are like forward looking, but you also want to support the previous stuff. So like for sure we want to give this the love it deserves post launch. It doesn't mean we've committed to like a bunch of DLC or anything like that, but that's something I'm super mindful of. And then again, at the same time, we are working on new stuff already.
Yeah, of course.
Before we even launched,
I could tell you one thing.
Mechs.
I'm intrigued about this universe. So even if it's not support for this title, exploring that world sounds like a blast.
Yeah, it's really great. There's a lot of good stuff in there.
Mm-hmm.
Andy, any last couple of questions you might have?
See, in my head, I feel like it's just all like the creature world and this world live together in the same pocket universe somehow. I'm getting like a Ico, Shell of the Colossus kind of vibe.
Oh my God,
and
Andy.
maybe they're somehow connected in some way.
Andy,
Yes, Steven.
what if this game takes place actually inside the creature?
Oh my God. That'd be wild.
Like it's a whole world inside the creature.
That'd be
Hadn't
wild.
considered that.
I mean,
Come
the
on.
We don't know how
creature-
big the creature is.
We don't.
We
there's
don't know.
We don't know
Yeah,
scale. And
we
you
don't
guys, and it's
We don't
all.
know.
It's not like it's an ant or a real like bumblebee.
No.
Like you're making this shit up on the fly. Anyway.
Yeah.
You're dropping.
all
your-
seen-
you're
it's like-
dropping
it's-
acid and
it's-
figuring this
It's
shit
on,
out.
it's on the creature's back. Has a whole like ecosystem on his
biome.
body just hanging out.
You guys are describing the ending of Men in Black. Which one was it? The second or the third one, where they go into the locker and then
my
there's
God.
Oh yeah, you're right. There are
Yep.
no original ideas.
Let's not talking about that. No, I think the
Anymore.
Yeah. But like maybe there's I don't know some sort of hot area and that's the heart.
Mhm.
Like, but you don't know that until the third game.
Now it's inner space. That's what we're doing now.
I like this. Develop that.
Now it's the creature in the well, the world within the creature in the well.
Okay.
Creature in the well, world in the creature
Right. I think we
In the
nailed
well.
this. I think we nailed this.
in the well.
We got it. We got it.
Now, Andy,
Still got it.
you're the gatekeeper. Do we have time for quick rapid fire?
You know, we got time for a couple good ones.
A couple of good ones. So we're gonna do this really quickly.
and we're gonna make it so worth it. I guarantee you.
I- no
have
promises.
I have some wild ones. set
So
up
do
for
you
this
want to
one.
just no? All right, I'm gonna let you start it then, because I'll riff off of you because I want to see
All right.
how ridiculous you're gonna get with this rapid fire today.
All right. It's a question for both of you.
Okay.
We can have Mel answer first. Okay. How many chickens would it take to take down an elephant?
Okay. What kind of chicken?
angry
They're
one.
not. Yeah, an angry. The Legend of Zelda chickens.
Legend of Zelda chicken. Oh, okay.
Whoa,
one.
that's different chicken.
That elephant doesn't stand a chance. That elephant's toast.
Your average ass chicken.
Your average ass chicken.
Your basic ass chicken.
I want to say like maybe 40. Like a
Mm.
good round couple,
Okay.
like more
Okay.
than 20, less than 100.
I like it. Yeah.
Somewhere in that zone. I feel like you could fluster an elephant pretty quickly.
Or
Yeah.
It'd be like
exhausted
being
a little
swarmed
bit.
by bees.
Right.
Mm.
Right. Sure.
Like I'd know pretty hard if I were an elephant. What do you think? Bo?
Absolutely. If takedown equals just falling on your side, then just like a grid of chickens, I feel like you got the number right.
Right.
Mm,
40 on one side, just like pecking at it, it'll go down.
mhm.
Yeah.
I think there's enough like force of that many
Yeah.
animals, perhaps with a hive mind. They
I
could
was gonna
organize.
say like 35. Yeah.
Okay,
Alright.
nice. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
When you level up in real life, like an RPG, you level up. What's the sound you make?
Mm.
That's the sound. Is that your version of the sound?
That's the one.
Mel's giggle is the sound of her leveling up.
Mine would
That's what I
definitely
was
just be a
thinking.
goblin scream. Just, nah!
Yes.
I'm
Evil
going.
laugh.
God, it's like
Becoming powerful. I think that's the sound I make on my birthday every year.
Like a large sword sheath, like a shing or something
Nice.
like huge
Some
that like
shiny,
echoes
yeah,
throughout
something nice.
like
Yeah,
the
that's-
downtown.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That
Oh, yeah.
sounds cool, Bo.
Yeah.
all right.
I like the cackle though. The cackle.
Yeah,
is
the
good.
cackle does work.
Which
Well,
cackling?
Echoing, lots of reverb on the cackle, like
Yeah. Oh
echoing.
yeah.
Yeah.
You want
All
to
around.
intimidate
Mhm.
what's
Very
around
large.
you. Yeah. Andy.
well, speaking about swords
Oh.
and bows, that's a double meaning bow because his name is Bo and it's also a weapon. What would be your weapon of choice in the zombie apocalypse?
Yeah, that's so tough. I like melee or infinite ammo. Like I do like ranged. Like I like the concept of a bow, but like what can you do when you run out of arrows? I just feel like it's more practical to have a blade.
Mhm.
Yeah, I would go with a blade as well.
Mm.
Just I really saw maybe a dagger, a nice solid
Yeah,
dagger.
not too long because you don't
Yeah.
want to be in a tricky situation where you're like, oh, the sword's too big and I'm stuck
Yeah.
against the wall. You know,
Yeah, something about maybe this size. Pop wish.
like
Like
a
a
half
machete,
katana.
a
or
machete of
something.
some kind. Okay.
I got a good
Something
question.
sharp.
I got a
Yeah.
really good one.
Okay.
We've done riffs on this before, but I think this is good.
Mm-hmm.
Both of your phones ring.
Here we go.
Okay.
Here
They
we go.
ring. Ring,
about
ring. Hello.
Yeah.
You find out Adam has been arrested.
Oh yeah, this is good.
What was Adam arrested for?
Trying to help an old lady across the street.
Wow, that
Was she Lady Hitler? What was?
no, this is
I
Canada,
don't know
bro. The
if we're
rules are
wrong,
weird in Canada.
But he
apparently.
would just be like, I was trying to help this lady across the street and they arrested me. And I'd be like, why? And he'd be like, I don't know.
Grab her ass
He
to
wouldn't
push her
have
across
answers.
the street.
Assault?
Yeah,
I don't-
He wouldn't know.
In the same vein, I was gonna say, I don't think if Adam got arrested, I think he would call and not know why, because he was probably not doing anything wrong. Still got arrested. Like he was
Wrongfully
taking a
accused.
picture of the canal, and they were just
Just
like, "You can't do
explain it to
that." He was like,
Yes.
Andy.
"Oh."
I want you to each take a moment and think about sports,
Oh,
baseball, basketball,
Uh-huh.
boxing, hockey, all the sports,
all the sports,
collective sports,
all the athletic competitions that you could think of.
and pick one that you would have a new rule. It would require drinking while you're playing. Which sport would you pick
Oh, that's good. I like this
to
one.
have this rule be imposed?
Okay, go on.
I think.
Like,
Okay.
yeah. Go ahead,
Okay.
please.
Go ahead.
I was
Mel.
gonna go like default Canadian and be like, well, hockey, because watching drunk people skate around is hilarious.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
But I feel like volleyball is the choice here.
Oh,
Because
Volleyball would be hilarious.
The amount of comedic value of a volleyball being whiffed and like the sound it makes on impact for somebody not
Mhm.
suspecting
And
is
face planting in the sand.
that's my favorite.
Try to
Mm.
run in
Okay,
the
gonna-
sand.
Yeah, I did. And you know, you're on
There's
the
no
beach.
traction.
It's a relatively safe place. If you're on the ice and you're drunk, you're probably
Right,
gonna hurt yourself really bad. So.
I don't know how I feel about giving a bunch of drunk hockey players blades on their feet. Like I don't know
That's
how
it.
I feel about and sticks in
Right.
their hands.
My answer was curling because it's the same type of thing.
Mm.
Yes.
But then you'll just be like sliding down the fucking
Just
lane,
keep
or,
going.
like, slamming into
Right
each other
past
like
the
a bunch
rock.
of like
just slowly,
penguins.
just
I
can't
was-
slowly
stop.
turning, like as you're.
I was
sliding down
wondering
the ice.
Spinning around on your back.
who
You forget to
was
let go and you just rocket into it.
Or you just hang on to it and it pulls you across.
Exactly.
You could literally see like the scraping the ice. Oh, let me shoot that up while I'm here. I might as well.
Exactly. Grease the court.
Mhm.
I was really waiting for one of you to go dark and be like just NASCAR.
Oh, good lord.
No.
The opposite of what
No
you think
drinking
would
and
happen
driving.
would happen, Andy. The complete. It would be all these dumb idiot NASCAR. Not that all NASCAR drivers are idiots. I just mean you're gonna be so obliteratedly
It would
dumb.
be after drinking.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're gonna be so dumb and you're gonna be so afraid to go fast. You're just gonna be like,
Crawling.
Right.
you're gonna
They'd be
like,
going at 15 miles an
Yeah.
hour and you're like, I'm
Somehow
so
made
fast.
NASCAR boring.
yeah, exactly. Actually, more
And then
one
the
lap.
large view would just
winner
be
of-
like them inching across
Yeah.
the line.
The one guy's like, if I go any faster, I'm gonna.
I'm gonna get pulled over,
They're smart
man.
enough to not go really fast when they're drunk.
I would like to see NASCAR, but they have to eat a sandwich while they're driving. Like
Okay.
distracted driving NASCAR edition. I think that would be hilarious.
I think that would be great for like cycling because like our buddies are like trying to learn how to like ride without handlebars because it's useful when you're on a long ride and you like need to eat
Mm.
potentially a sandwich. I'm not saying we
Right.
have sandwiches, but like if you need two hands for something, it'd be
Yeah,
nice to
little
have
fanny
them on a
pack
bike.
of snacks.
I mean, we have
Uh-huh.
feed bags. They exist.
true.
Strap
Yeah.
that son of a bitch here and just gotta kick it back. Eat some Cheerios. Just
Get a bowl of soup
Yeah,
while you're on a
just-
bike ride.
Oh, speaking
Nice.
of, is cereal and milk a soup?
Mm.
No.
No, because I think soups need to be cooked. Is that not
Mm.
a
Cooked.
requirement for soup?
Okay.
Or
Okay,
is
like-
cereal not cooked?
Gazpacho is a soup to me, just to
Oh,
combat that. But there's still something different about gazpacho versus cereal.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
I don't really know how to separate the two other than like the liquid.
Mm-hmm.
I guess, yeah. I mean, like
Maybe
the
some
ocean is a
people-
soup. It's got salt.
Right.
Like you would never call
Plants.
milk in your cereal a broth, right?
Yeah.
But like
I
also
don't know.
would you?
Have you drank a nice frosted flake broth? It's delicious. It's
Or an
delicious.
Applejack broth.
It could be a
Cinnamon Toast
dessert
Crunch.
soup.
A CTC broth, I agree, is like
Quite
kind of-
delectable.
It could be a dessert soup. Nothing
Dessert
says
broth.
soup has to be.
That's a bad idea. We tried to make dessert gumbo once.
I'm
Bad
sorry.
idea.
Don't do that. Why do I have a feeling
Terrible
marshmallows
idea.
were involved?
There were, and it was bad.
Oh my goodness! All right,
If you,
go ahead.
I have a question.
Yeah, one more and then I'll hit the final.
One more than final, yeah. If you could pick a superhero or a super villain to be your therapist, who would you pick?
A soup.
Soup. A
A
bowl of
soup
soup.
or a hero? No, a superhero.
A superhero or a super villain? Oh, we should expand. Who would you pick then? Who would you want to be your
Supervillain.
super villain or superhero therapist? I feel like for most, you'd be doing the therapy because they're all a little bit in the head. Them
I don't know,
heroes and
there's some really
villains.
good ones out there.
There are. Man. I don't know why my first instinct was say Hela from Thor Ragnarok.
That's a good choice.
I feel like
a
she has
great
the
choice.
confidence I
My
want.
first instinct was
so-
Loki. I was like,
Wow,
I don't know
okay.
why, but I just
For
want to
my
talk
own
to
family.
Loki about some stuff that's
'Cause
like
he
really
would get in
personal.
there.
Yeah.
He would get in there
Yeah.
real
Yeah.
deep.
But that's what you want, though.
Like,
Right.
whatever would happen, I'd be like,
Like
damn,
that
you really
deep-
showed me something today.
I'm deep cleaning.
I'm just
you know?
curious, Andy. Who are you picking for that answer?
Oh shit! I'd probably go with Magneto.
Oh yeah.
I'm torn.
he's-
Okay.
Yeah, he's good.
He's seen some shit.
So you're
I
all going
think-
villain route, huh?
My problems would be nothing compared to his. So he'd be like, "Why are you
I
whining
feel
so
like-
much?"
Yeah. I'm not super interested
You've heard of the
in, like,
Holocaust,
a nice
right?
guy therapist.
No nice guy therapists. I don't
Mhm.
feel.
Yeah.
I'll end up being their therapist, and I'm going to just. It's not
Exactly.
exactly. Yeah. Right.
I'm caught between Tony Stark and Doctor Strange.
Okay, Doctor Strange would be pretty interesting.
Doctor Strange is very good.
I mean, they're
Like
both
Doctor
assholes.
Strange, Be
right?
too focused on themselves, though. You worry
That's-
about you.
Well,
They are quite
yeah,
narcissistic.
they are super
Very.
like yeah, but they can make me feel better about myself for being, whatever. Anyway, all right. So, the final question, the most important question, really of your entire careers. I know that you have
Seriously.
relatively young careers.
No doubt.
You know, couple of young developers in the industry, really making a name for yourself, carving out a corner of the business, as it were. You're going to be asked a lot of questions. Producers, publishers, they're going to ask you a lot of questions. They're going to ask you and you have to be like with the tie and like your hair all done up nice, and you have to answer really, really eloquently. Otherwise, you're
A
going to
lot
lose
of
the
build
deal.
up. A lot of build up, Steven.
You're going to lose the deal. You know what I mean?
Right, don't lose
No
the deal.
question an investor could ask you. No question. You could here's the Pope, you know, maybe you're not even Catholic. Doesn't matter. The Pope is here and he's like, going to ask you questions. Not as important as this question that we're about to ask you. You understand? Do you get what we're getting at here?
I understand.
You could die tomorrow, end up at the pearly gates of heaven, and St. Pete will not ask you a more important question than what I'm about to ask you. Now that I've leveled that. Very simple answer. A baby can answer it. Andy or Steve?
Oh no.
Is that a stove in your background?
That is my
Oh, is that your
kitchen,
kitchen?
yeah.
That's
my
your kitchen, right? And then you've got some Super Meat Boy, some Angry Birds.
Hang
What's
on.
up there?
Hang on, we got...
Both, like,
Oh,
I need-
we
I
got
need some
Angry
information.
Birds.
Hang on.
There's
I
Mega
just got to
Man-
do some data gathering.
There's
really
Mega
quick.
Man cereal on the top. And the top.
That's pretty cool.
And
Okay,
there's an
Mega Man
Elder
What about you,
Scrolls.
Steven? What do you have?
I
That's
got
your
Batman
ceiling.
Pops.
There's an Elder
We're
Scrolls.
just looking at your ceiling.
mug.
Oh, my bad. There we go.
You
We
have a
got
ceiling
Batman
fan.
Should be
Pops.
disqualified for that alone.
We got some turtles.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
We got some
Those are
D&D
really-
books.
Really pairs
All my
in
consoles.
comparison.
And
Okay,
you know I
D&D
support them
books.
indie games. I got that Temtem stickers. I got my Temtem stickers.
Okay, the stickers are good.
I love how Bo needs to know the facts. It's like the fact finder.
Yeah,
You know, you can't
To
just
make
jump
the
to
right-
yeah,
conclusions.
he's the
You can't,
director,
you
man.
really
You need
can't.
all the information. You need to set the
You
scene
really
here.
can't with my blue shell hoodie. Just saying.
I'm wearing my
pretty
own
cool.
merch.
I think Andy.
Oh, we got an Andy. You got an Andy. Mel, it's all on you. You got to answer next now.
Wait, Bo, who did you pick? You picked Andy?
Picked Andy, yeah.
Okay, I'll pick Steven.
Wow, I
Beautiful.
love getting that one. That one's my favorite. That's my favorite version of being picked. Is the well then I guess I'll have Steve.
Well, you know, That's just how it goes, buddy.
I know.
All about
I know how it
equality.
goes. Ladies and gentlemen,
How about Shadow the Hedgehog instead?
my pride is perfectly intact. No issues to report here, folks. That's going to bring us to the end of the show. Thank you so much for listening. This was fantastic. Where can everybody follow you guys? Follow the game. Where can everybody pre-order?
Buy the game.
All that fun stuff. Buy the damn thing. Tell everybody.
Check us out on Twitter, Stonefly Game. Website too, Stonefly Game. We'll just like point you to everything. It's coming to a lot of stores, all the stores. So you can kind of wish list or check it out there.
God, I'm so excited.
We got a Discord you can hang out.
I would-
in.
Please come out to the day. Yeah, come hang on the Discord.
So good. Yeah.
It's like a flight school studio Discord. So if you search for like Creature in the Well or
Yeah,
Stonefly
I love
in
it.
Discord server list, you'll find us.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Love it.
Do you have any like events planned? Any like streaming things or anything like that planned for the release?
Yeah, we've got a bunch of streamings planned, more so leading up to the release. We've done a couple so far, like once every other week or so.
Okay.
Just going like behind the scenes this week, actually a day or two ago.
Yeah.
We did like a deep dive into a bunch of the concept art and like how we did character creation. So
I
it's like
saw
a
that.
lot of behind the scenes
That's
like
awesome.
content. If you come join the Discord and
Love it.
check those out.
That's fantastic. Folks, that's going to do it here. You could follow us on social media. We are at duel_screens on Twitter, at duel screens on Instagram. Join our Facebook group, facebook.com/group/DS podcasts. Thanks again for all of our Patreon supporters, patreon.com/NDS podcast. And thank you, Andy. Thank you for being
Steve.
here.
Oh,
Thank you, Bo.
for also being here.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Mel. Thank you, listeners.
Mel,
Thank you,
yes.
viewers.
Mel,
And as
Mel.
always,
Thank-
please be excellent to each other.
And buy this game.
Bye.